So, you finally made it this far. I suppose you all know what this video is going to be about. Oh yeah, I've done my top 7 favorite Loud House episodes from season 1, and now this time, the moment everybody has requested and waited for, my top 7 hateable, dislikable, hellfire awful, worst Loud House episodes from season 1, which contain a bunch of episodes I really despise, hate, or wouldn't show to a dying child if they wanted to watch the Loud House. So sit back and get ready to feel the pain.
Like fire, hellfire.
One of the boys. Okay, so first off, I thought this was actually a really good episode, but then when watching the episode again, I realized how bad this episode really is. I did a review on this one, but I also did a revisit on my real opinion about it, and Andreas was actually with me when we talked about this. If you haven't seen the revisit of One of the Boys, I could just say this was actually too disgusting and it was too sexist. Not even all the voice actors of the Ninja Turtles could actually save the episode. It wasn't one of my favorites at first, and it never was. But one thing I can guarantee that a lot of the fandom are not going to stop gender bending these characters. Lincoln's sisters aren't perfect, and they do get carried away sometimes, but at least they're actually good enough to give a crap about him if he was hurt. Then again, in future episodes, I don't know about it for sure. Everything was humorous in the very beginning, but everything spiraled downhill into a dislike for me, especially in one dimension when Lincoln actually becomes a girl named Linka, when we all know it's just Lincoln in a freaking wig, even when he was speaking as a boy's voice instead of a girly-like voice. And nothing comes off as really great. I think this is probably the most grossest and sexist episode I've seen in the Loud House.
Like fire, hellfire.
Save the date. Another episode I reviewed and revisited. This episode I despise so much that in fact, I just didn't like Lori in this episode, because here's the fact. Lincoln said some nasty things that hurt Ronnie Ann's feelings. Ah, what a shame. And then Lori gets upset because Bobby broke up with her because of Lincoln actually hurt Ronnie Ann's feelings. And it turned out that Ronnie Ann is related to Bobby. And what happens at this point? Lori forces Lincoln to actually go on a double date so she can actually get back to Bobby. How does that even sound? Too fucking selfish, am I right? This episode, along with Driving Miss Hazy, was but one, were the only ones that actually hated Lori the most. And as for Ronnie Ann, the spoiled little brat, I did not like her from the very beginning at first. Especially how the way she's always tormenting and beating the crap out of Lincoln just to show that she actually likes him. Bullshit. I've seen Helga do so much better in Hate Arnold. At least she don't go around beating the crap out of Arnold. But with Ronnie Ann, on this other hand, she just acted too much like a spoiled, heartfelt brat. Especially when it comes out, but she's the one who doesn't get so much the punishment, but Lincoln has to suffer? I wouldn't call this save the date, I say screw the date. And by the way, the kiss at the very end really grossed me out. I didn't give too much a shit about this relationship, especially when it turned out they're not in a relationship.
Like fire, hellfire.
Pure in peace. Not only do I despise this episode, I hate it from beginning to the end. Lincoln has one simple chore to take the trash out while everybody else actually gets the good stuff. Till Lincoln gets tired of doing the same thing, he wants to actually try to do someone else's chore. And what's this do? Everybody goes on strike with this bullshit. Like they just don't want to take the time to actually accept changes or actually do a different kind of chore for one. It doesn't fucking hurt to actually do some changes, to actually learn something different. Hell, you might as well have Lenny actually make the beds and actually have Lana doing the dishes. And that when the house gets so much messy, none of the parents don't do jack shit about it. All they do is just work on fucking puzzles so much until the house gets more dirtier and much messier until Lincoln doesn't have any clothes to wear. Lola's life gets ruined, Lori's life gets ruined with Bobby. She goes chasing Lincoln, they disturb the trash monster, and Lori actually blames Lincoln for making Lily cry.
Great, Lincoln. You made Lily cry.
When she said that, I wanted to fucking slap her and say, shut your fucking mouth. Blame Lincoln for everything, especially how the way he ruined your date. I felt this was probably the most laziest episode I actually seen in the Loud House, especially when none of them didn't want to switch chores. I mean, that would have been very nice in the very end if they would have actually got different chores and not go on full fucking strike about this. I'm so fucking close up having It's a Loud House on this list, but somewhat, this episode actually bumped it off this list and actually put It's a Loud House in my dishonorable mentions. I just didn't care for this episode very much, and I still don't fucking like it.
Like fire, hellfire.
Slew Their Consequences. I already spoke about this episode before, and I hate it so much. Do I even need to say what the problem is with this episode? It's the mean-spiritedness with the sisters, how they just laughing at Lincoln and they blame him for clogging the toilet without actual any proof. Laughing at a kid while he's dressed up as Ace Savvy. Shit. We see Luna dressing up like a rock star all the time, and we have Lola dressing up like a little fucking princess. Shouldn't we all be laughing at that? Or does that not sound funny to any of us at all? But the worst main problem with this episode is the ending. When Lucy actually confessed that she was the one who actually clogged the toilet, Lincoln took the bullet for her and everybody just laughs in his face, and he's the one who ends up getting grounded and everybody else goes away free. And Lori's line, I fucking hated it the most when she said this.
They are literally worse than Lincoln, and he wears his underwear on the outside.
Yeah, between this episode and Kings of the Con, I want to strangle this girl. Or better yet, the episode itself. I would have loved it if Lucy actually did tell them the truth at the very end. Then somewhere they would actually praise Lincoln for standing up for Lucy, then they realized how mean they were and apologized for it. Hell, there's even an alternate end that somebody actually wrote, and it felt so much better. And you can see that in the description of the episode review of Slew Their Consequences. This was an episode that didn't really interest me, and I just didn't fucking care so much about it.
Like fire, hellfire.
A Tattler's Tale. Nope, sorry, I'm just fucking around with you guys. Serial Offender. This episode really fucking annoyed me at first when I first watched this episode, and it still did from this day. Why? Lincoln tries to get so much of shopping done for his mother because he wants to get the zombie brand cereal, and he brings his sisters along for it. How do they behave? They behave like a bunch of, dear I fucking say this, savages. It's like they're on their fucking worst behavior, like they don't know how to behave in a grocery store. With the exception of Lori, who's just flaunting around with Bobby. And there's the store manager who's trying to keep everything under control and trying to make sure Lincoln or none of his sisters actually get them kicked out or they actually get in trouble. And then this bratty little lookalike of Lincoln comes along. But I have to admit, a great chase scene actually was really good, but it did get messy along the way. But that little shitbrain actually got what was coming to him. But it doesn't end right there. When Lincoln was actually telling his sister about why he did the grocery shop in the first place, a fucking fight breaks out and they all managed to get banned down. Lincoln doesn't get his cereal, and his mother actually blames him for the entire fucking thing when it wasn't really his idea. Even after when the sisters actually heard about so much of this, they actually get him the cereal in the very end, and everybody feels so much satisfied with it. But it's not enough to actually save it. I can't help but how annoyed I was, especially how the way the sisters behaved in the fucking grocery store. I expect a lot from Luna actually behave a lot more than Lynn, Lola, and Lana, and even Lisa. Sure, Lily was the actually saving grace because she wasn't even at the grocery store. But I hate just how annoying it got, especially when it came to the ending when the mom blames Lincoln, when really the sisters were the one who should have made the confession. I possibly would skip this one.
Like fire, hellfire.
The Sweet Spot. Do I even need to say what the shit is wrong with this episode? I didn't despite this episode because of all the noise they were making when they destroyed Vanzilla in the end. And trust me, I exaggerated on that when I did in the review. But the whole main problem with this is Lincoln, of how he's trying to get the one seat in Vanzilla that he calls it the sweet spot. And he's constantly up all night just talking to the sister about switching one place to another in Vanzilla so he can have the seat to entire self. And yet some of the flashback stuffs are really annoying and gross, especially when Lori puked on him. Judas, fuck, do you not show respectful manners? Especially when there's nothing sacred. When they all went into his room, they actually discovered that he was making them look muchly stupid as he was trying to get the sweet spot. And what happened next? They fight over it. I mean, fucking come on. You guys fight over one frickin' seat in Vanzilla? That's as bad as two of the girls fighting over the same dress they bought at the mall. And when they do break out of their rooms and actually fight over the sweet spot and destroy Vanzilla completely, the trip is completely off, but it isn't over there yet. Lincoln thinks he can actually get a good spot on the couch in the living room. He does this little racist engine yell that gets really fucking annoying. Because the episode like this, I want Clint Eastwood and Muhammad Ali to come here and bash these little dumbasses so they can have some fucking common sense. It was a good way for Chris Savina to actually do something like this, but somehow, I think people will be so much annoyed with it after when they watch it. This is it. This is what you all have been waiting for. The #1 hated, most dislikable, despicable, obnoxious, hellfire-grabbing episode of season 1 of The Loud House. And I think it's pretty fucking obvious that everybody knew that #1 was gonna be the fucking greenhouse. Where do I fucking begin with this episode? Oh, I know, I fucking hate it so much that I didn't have time to actually watch this episode again when I first reviewed it. And when I first did, I was constantly screaming so much. I screamed so loud, I blew the fucking microphone out. Nobody has any fucking common sense with this episode. All the damn sisters are doing so much bullshit that they're burning so much the fossil fuels, running the water, and killing so much electricity. How much big is that fucking bill gonna be for the mom and dad to actually pay for when they're fucking screwing around with certain things they don't need? And Lori having that many devices? What the fuck? Why the fuck does Lana actually have a furnace in her room? Okay, there's so many different things that are wrong with this episode. Even Yoshi Player actually hated this episode. Lincoln tries his best to actually save so much of the energy they could save this damn little polar bear, which somehow, that challenge I would never give a shit about, but I can actually save a baby seal. But if Lincoln doesn't do his part right there, he's gonna be considered an outcast. Even his damn teacher is gonna consider him an outcast. Fuck you, Miss Johnson. And those 2 young boys that came in the very end, remember what I said about hand-me-downer? How so much these boys are just only there just for filler so they can actually make Lincoln suffer even more? I didn't give a shit too much about these boys. I mean, Lincoln should have kicked them right the fuck out. And Lincoln was such the biggest hypocrite in this family. Constantly telling his sister that they got to do their part and actually kill so much of the energy down, and he's constantly playing video games behind their back. And when he gets busted for it, he has to fucking suffer all the way, and he has to peddle the power through the entire fucking house. And everybody goes back doing their usual bullshit stick instead of just being a part of this. This is the episode I truly so much want to fucking murder. What the fuck was Chris actually thinking when he did this one? I don't know how else to put it to you. Just please fucking skip this episode. I'm begging you. It's not worth watching. It's worth punishing your kid as you're entertaining them. Come to think of it, this doesn't look like fucking entertainment to me. Okay, so now that I got done doing my top 7 dislikable, hateable episodes of season 1 of The Loud House, I hope you all didn't suffer as bad as I did when doing this. Now that I got my good and bad episodes from season 1 of The Loud House, hopefully I can do this again sometime when I finish all the episodes from season 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And maybe in the future I might put my top 3 honorable and top 3 dishonorable episodes from season 1. Till then, I'll see you guys next time. Let me know what episodes you actually hate from season 1 of The Loud House.